Dr. Anthony Fauci just had his journals, his diaries, put on the congressional record and revealed to the public. And what if we told you the man who was supposed to be stopping the pandemic, saving folks' lives, was instead focused on how famous he was and what celebrities were saying to him? Today we'll tell you why the then 79-year-old notorious doctor was acting more like a 12-year-old K-pop fan. It's a great day. It's a groovy day, folks. Thank you again for coming our way, and happy Thursday. Boy, do we have a lot to say about this one. It's an angle I don't think you'll hear anywhere else. It is the entertainment side, the deep, depraved Hollywood side of Anthony Fauci. Get ready. We'll dive deep, click the like button, and off we go. Folks, what if we told you that Dr. Anthony the Science Fauci, well, he used to say that he was not afraid of anything. He'd go on, he'd speak, he'd give his testimony. From Natalie Winters Fauci in 2022, I'm very happy to testify before any congressional oversight committee. Here we go from CNN not so long ago.
Well, if I become a punching bag, I'm a punching bag, but I am very happy to testify before any congressional oversight committee. I have nothing to hide. I can explain and validate everything that I've done. So, you know, it's going to be inconvenient if they actually are out there essentially threatening to make my life miserable. But I'm going to do what I need to do, and that is cooperate fully because we have nothing to hide.
Now, this is a very awkward predicament for me because I cannot hear what he said, but everybody else on the panel did. So, Culture, give us a recap on what Fauci is saying on CNN and maybe how things have changed today.
He indicated that he realized that he may become a punching bag, but that he was okay with that because he can answer for everything that he did, every action that he took, et cetera, et cetera. So
he had nothing to hide, he said.
Nothing to hide, exactly.
Just before taking the fifth 111 times.
Not a thing. Okay, well now, USA Today, Fauci Senate fiasco isn't over as contempt push prompts legal questions. Zachary Shimmerly for USA Today is writing this one and says, Senator Rand Paul's threat to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci in contempt of Congress for stonewalling Senate Republicans during a hearing is already creating a cloud of legal questions. And it goes on to talk about the pardon that was given, preemptive pardon from President Biden.
Which
and of course, that's going to, right, and it's going to draw questions about the auto pin. But folks, we're not a political channel, and we're not a legal channel.
No,
Go ahead.
I think we need to explain the basic procedural issue here, which is
yes,
the pardon was backdated to the very beginning of his realm, but it was only up until the moment that he left. So the reason to get him on there today was to ask him new questions that, if he lied, would not be covered by the pardon. And that's why he answered nothing. However, speaking of contempt, his attorney, who was not recognized and was told to sit in the back row to advise him, came up to the table and started interjecting himself. And finally, Rand Paul told him, "You open mouth one more time, I'm having you removed from the room." And they kicked him out physically.
Gotcha.
So he's in line for contempt of Congress enormously.
Lots of drama, lots of drama. Folks, we are an entertainment channel. And because of that, we're going to cover the Fauci thing from an angle that you may not be hearing anywhere else because everybody else is going to be talking about the political part of this. Let's talk about entertainment. Because on TMZ, Harvey Levine, when the Charlie Kirk thing happened, it was awful the way TMZ responded. You remember them applauding in the background? Well, now he's tearful. He's tearful, maybe fearful for poor the science Dr. Anthony Fauci. And here's why.
YouTube channel to vent personal feelings about issues, but I'm going to do that today. Watching Anthony Fauci before a congressional hearing taking the Fifth Amendment is just one of the most heartbreaking things I have seen in government in my lifetime. And this is something we need to reckon with. That I'm going to say up front, I have problems the way the CDC handled COVID. I think that
Fauci wasn't over the CDC. These people are geniuses.
They did damage to children, to adults, and I don't think they did it maliciously. I think they did it because they were using their judgment and were overprotective.
Let's just pause here and say, again, we're not going to weigh in too much, but what's in Fauci's diaries does not match what Fauci told the country. That's why Fauci's in trouble.
And when he says maliciously, according to some of these diaries, he had his assistants, who are also on the government payroll, actively soliciting grants and awards and prizes that paid him hundreds of thousands of dollars. Don't tell me it wasn't malicious when the guy's out to cash in on the thing. Come on, Harvey.
Right, while people die. Okay, here's where we go, though, bigly into entertainment. I mean, the TMZ thing. Why is Harvey crying? Because Fauci was chasing Hollywood, and Hollywood loved being chased and chased right back. This is why they are terrified of what might come back for them. Fox News is reporting on this. Anthony Fauci's Hollywood supporters. We'll get to the celebs in just a second, but read the subtitle here. It says, Fauci's private 2020 journals reveal how A-listers championed his public health guidance as his fame became explosive. Ashley Hume is writing this, and I'm going to tell you, it's way worse than what this says. Because what we really find out is that Anthony Fauci, who was supposed to be chasing down diseases and cures and solutions, etc., was obsessed with celebrities loving him and the fame that he was trying to attract while people were dying. Julia Roberts, Katy Perry, Orlando Bloom were among Dr. Anthony Fauci's biggest celebrity supporters, it says. As the 85-year-old infectious disease expert became the face of America's response to the pandemic, he also attracted an unlikely fan club in Hollywood, including Brad Pitt portraying him on Saturday Night Live at home. While chronicling his management of the spiraling health emergency, Fauci also wrote frequently in his private journals and diaries, where he keeps all his log of what's going on because he's a historic figure, also wrote frequently of his rapidly rising fame in his private 2020 journals, which were released by Senate Homeland Security Committee Chairman Rand Paul. Quote, the situation with my national and international fame is explosive and really unimaginable, he wrote. Quote, it is not hyperbole to say that today I am the most famous and talked about person in the country and one of the most recognizable persons in the world. Fauci also dedicated significant space across numerous entries, not logging about medicine, not logging about saving lives during the pandemic, but logged about his personal interactions with Hollywood A-listers, including Julia Roberts, Barbara Streisand, and Sean Penn. Holy moly. We can go through all this. We can go through Julia Roberts. We can talk about, okay, so Fauci, in a May 2020 diary entry, Fauci wrote about his wonderful discussion with Julia Roberts, who he described as absolutely fabulous, totally down to earth. He also shared that he was embarrassed when she told him that he was her personal hero. Folks, every waking minute of this man's day should have been dedicated to saving lives, stopping the virus, helping develop cures. And instead, in May, who was Dr. Fauci talking to? Was it other experts in other countries? He was spending time talking to Julia Roberts, having a wonderful discussion with Julia Roberts. Absolutely fabulous. In May of 2020. Kim Kardashian. Here you go. Here's a quote from Fauci. It was a whole bunch of movie stars and some sports figures, and they wanted to know about what they could do to stay safe, about wearing masks and avoiding crowds. I was impressed by the questions they asked, by their level of sophistication. He says, each of them has enormous numbers of followers on their social media accounts. I could say to them, for example, it's important to wear a mask, and they get on their accounts and say, wear a mask, and it goes out to an additional couple of million of people. Talking about spending time with Kim Kardashian, who he shared a private Zoom call with. And it goes on and on. Katy Perry, Orlando Bloom, Jennifer Garner.
The one with Streisand. Is that in this article?
Let's check and see.
Oh, God, I was reading the one with Streisand about how he played her music over the phone from his iPad to her, and she was so excited that he was listening to her music. And my God.
Not in this one, but it's amazing because rather than fighting the virus, rather than talking about its origins, Dr. Fauci was writing all the time about how much he loved interacting with celebrities.
On our dime.
I cannot think of
collecting our salary.
Yeah, Lauren, I can't think of a more serious time in the country's history outside of things like World War II. And what we're finding out is this is a very unserious man at best and maybe sinister man. Your thoughts, Lauren?
I have very strong feelings about Fauci. And I hope people won't think I'm overstating this. I view him as a modern day Joseph Mengele. I think this is a man who jail is too good for. Because leave aside the diary. Let's pretend for a moment that we didn't have that. Let's say we took him at his word that we were all trying to figure out what was going on at the time and that they were overcautious and they had all these lockdowns and all of this stuff. This is a man who declared himself the science. And decided that he was the arbiter of all things that people should be doing to keep everybody else safe. This was a man who told people that fear was the best way to get people in line. This was a person that told you it was okay to demonize your neighbors, that it was okay to take away their jobs, that it was okay to separate people from their loved ones. That's before you consider all of the things with the vaccines themselves, when you consider that the vaccine producers were given immunity from prosecution for any side effects that may occur, that they made billions upon billions of dollars by prescribing these things. There was a giant financial incentive for this entire thing to go on. Let's forget all of that stuff too.
Okay. Poof, gone. It's like sheep detectives. Gone. All right. What should we remember, Lauren?
When you declare that you are the science and you've gone through something like this and you get this spectacularly badly, what happens the next time we have a real disease come through?
Yeah.
We cannot trust these people anymore. We have no way now to determine whether the people in power are trustworthy. One of the things that people ask about World War II is, how in the world did the German populace not understand what was going on? Why? Why did they become informers? Why did they collaborate with the people that were running the Nazi government? Well, we had an example of that here just 5 years ago, and an enormous number of our friends and neighbors failed the test.
Big time.
They were all too happy to go along with a government that told them what to do because it made them feel superior and righteous. That is a very scary thing. But it's a good thing that we had it as an example, because now we know. Now we know how easy it is to subvert a population when they get a little tiny taste of power. This man is a face of it, and in my opinion, the consequences need to be the most severe for him to make sure that whoever comes next understands the consequences of getting something this badly because of their own personal ambition.
That's extremely well said, and I appreciate everything you've just given to the conversation,
I endorse
Lauren.
every word of what you just said.
That's right. Lou, let me toss you, I hope, what is an interesting launching point to even more on this conversation. Fauci, at the time this was happening, would have been 79, 80 years old at the time that the pandemic is happening. Now, having access to his diary, Lou, this man who would have been 79 and 80 years old and should have been one of the most formidable minds when it comes to viruses and pandemics and what to do, was using his diary in the height of like people dying, nursing homes being wiped out, people dying alone. This guy, 79 years old, Lou, was writing like a 16-year-old high school girl who just got to meet, a K-pop band. This guy was writing about how much celebrities, were noticing him. Lou, that seems so psychologically strange to me that somebody of that age would care if a 25-year-old movie star was talking about him.
I agree, but we have to remember the core of this is he didn't want to get caught because he was responsible for this happening by virtue of him funding this lab and sharing with them things that should never have been shared. He was getting paid to break the law. After that, the rest of it was momentum, and the rest of it was hubris and all the other things we can say. But this guy was a crook, and he tried to make being a crook a virtue by virtue of his fame. And it doesn't work that way in the real world, kid.
Well, culture.
But again, this is a guy who lived his entire life within the bureaucracy. Okay. He was involved with AIDS. He was involved with the flu virus, all these other things. And he said, well, I can channel this money. I can control it. Even if it isn't mine, it's the government's money. I can aim it places, and people will like me if I aim it to them and don't aim it to their competitors. That's the kind of venal crook he is. And I'm afraid to say it, but I think the government, to some degree or another, is full of people like this.
I think you're right. Culture, this is a level of psychological derangement that is hard to comprehend. This is a man who, as Lou was just saying, should have been deeply worried, because now we know from the diaries he was writing something completely different than what he was saying. He acknowledges in the diaries, this did not come from the market. This comes from, a place near the market that's still on YouTube. I'm going to be careful not to say, which is crazy that we're still in that situation, but I'll be careful here. So Culture, he should have been panicked. Any normal human being would have been panicked, thinking, oh my gosh, as Lou said, how do I not get caught? And instead, this guy was living on cloud 99 with the idea that he was the most famous person in the world now, that celebrities were calling him. And he's just writing there like, oh boy, Leonardo DiCaprio, Leo just called me. I'm really famous. This is deranged.
Yeah, this reminds me of a book that you can get on Amazon, The Devil and Dr. Fauci. And I agree with the subtitle there, which I think will say it all and basically feed right into what Lauren was saying. This guy is the many various faces of bureaucratic evil. He embodied a unique kind of hubris that only comes around, let's say, every 70, 80 years or so.
So, Culture, I actually think he's sociopathic. And I don't throw that word around easily, but yeah. I don't know how, like, if I knew that people were dying and, alone and you've got devastation at this kind of level, like, I don't think I could sleep at night. I would be working 18 hours a day and crashing at my desk, and getting up and saying, what can I do to save people? And this guy is writing like, oh man, Barbara Streisand really likes me.
Yeah, I really can't say anything other than what I've said, which is he's sociopathic enough to be a politician. And I think that's the problem is he was more a politician than he ever was a legitimate medical doctor. And also think about how compromised the relationship was between the various health organizations, since he was married to the woman that made the other side of the decision-making process. This was an imbalance, conflict of interest, and various other things that you want to throw at it. But he's been involved in nothing but evil in his entire career. And people, you can go about, being trying to be an apologist for him, but you're gonna be hard pressed to convince people that this man wasn't the very essence of evil. And this guy is another one. So there's two of them.
Right. You remember they cheered in the background when Charlie Kirk. But anyway, Lauren, I want to get you in for the last word, but I want to play just a little bit more of this, because I will say there are not many celebrities coming out and defending this any longer. And I worry, folks, I don't know if you can see this. I worry, what the heck is going on with Harvey? We have medicine bottles, like prescription medicine bottles, and a bottle of Cholula. Lauren, is he downing prescription meds with Cholula? Hang on, I'll play it and we'll talk about it. But
over a period of decades has been an amazing public servant. In the 80s, I had many friends who died of AIDS, a horrible, painful death. And I had friends who lived because of Anthony Fauci, because he was willing to look at experimental drugs in a different way than they had looked at them before. And that really resulted in lives saved.
Interesting.
Oh, really?
Lauren, you're muted. I'll go ahead and click the button, unmute, and rock and roll, man.
Let me just say that if that was a bottle of Cholula, then I hope that those pills were
I was going to say touche, Lauren, but it might be pronounced tushy. So
go ahead, Lauren.
I want everybody to remember it's not just Fauci. Fauci gave the excuse. You also need to be paying attention to your state governors. Look at how overjoyed some of these governors were to suddenly be allowed to indulge in every type of dictatorial experiment that they ever could have imagined were. Look at how hard it was to wrest power back from them, to force them to return to normal. Look at how they threatened people's jobs right up until the Supreme Court got involved and said, you can't do this. For those people that were coerced into taking these vaccines, and if you want to take them, if you believe in them, more power to you. But remember, this government attempted to force them upon you and say that you cannot work, you cannot participate in normal life, you are going to be required to put something into your body that you don't know what it is, you don't know what it'll do, it has not been properly tested because we say so. That is demonic.
And if it goes wrong, you can't sue anybody, there is no recourse.
Remember those governors that did not defend your rights and hold them accountable if we cannot hold Fauci accountable.
Well, it's been a good time. It's been a great time, folks. It's been a groovy time, even. Keeping the Holly Weirds in line. We know them better than they know themselves. As we say goodbye, folks, please consider clicking that like button, drop a comment down below, and join the community dialogue today. And until the next time, we say it every time. Keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.